Good afternoon. Welcome to the NumberSense training. My name is Ramesh Balan. I am the founder and CEO of Knomadix, uh, one of the programs that we have created that is to address the learning losses and regression in foundational math is NumberSense. Think of NumberSense like it's a Scrabble meets Tetris for foundational math. So it's gamified. It's also got visual spatial reasoning built into it. It's got critical thinking built into it. You're going to be hearing number sense and these words throughout this training. So um, I want to turn it over to Marlon Tatum, who's going to be our training facilitator right now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marlon Tatum. I am currently a testing facilitator at Key Elementary in Arlington ISD. This is my 5th year in education, and I was one of the first NumberSense teachers of the year using the Knomadix NumberSense program. Before we begin, just like any good teaching, I want to start with a kind of a question for you all to think about. So take a moment to read this question. If I were a betting person, I would bet that your answer would be something like, educational technology is not that great, right? We kind of like our pencil, paper, hard copy book learning and teaching. But I want you to consider what you're used to in educational technology as you are introduced to the NumberSense learning platform, and have a growth mindset and get ready for all of that to change. In the webinar today, or the training today, we are going to kind of talk about what NumberSense is, give you some of the reasons behind the NumberSense platform, so the why. You'll have a moment to explore NumberSense with Ramesh, and then you'll come back with me and we'll look at the instructional approach. And any questions that you have that we could answer for you, take note of those during the training so that you can compile them and email them for answers. Let's begin. So what is NumberSense? Well, NumberSense are the foundational math skills that we want our students to have. Teachers complain all the time, like, oh, basic math skills, right? 2 + 2, basic multiplying. We're getting into 5th and 6th grade and we don't have these skills. And even now with the pandemic, it's even more so. The learning gaps are astronomical, right? So we look at symbolic representations, number relationships, just the basic ability to have that automaticity and that fluidity in numbers. And then computing math mentally. The NumberSense solution by Knomadix is an app. Well, it's an app on your phone, and it's also a web-based platform, right, that allows students to practice their NumberSense skills. It's complete with a NumberSense teacher dashboard that allows the teacher to actively monitor student progress and to gain a deeper understanding of how the student is performing on various levels across a multitude of learning areas. Then there's a NumberSense administrative dashboard. This allows the admin to see a bigger picture of the entire school's growth and performance in different areas. So what is NumberSense? Oh, I went backwards. Paul Hamos says, the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. I like this quote because most educational technology that I've seen, when we think about gamified, it's a game. It's not necessarily them learning math or learning how to read. It's really a game, and it kind of takes away from the focal point of mathematics or language arts. NumberSense is created around math, and that is the entire game. So why NumberSense? NumberSense is gamified to differentiate and scaffold mathematics concepts. There is zero prep work. So you're not having to add to your lesson planning, nothing like that. It provides student choice. So anytime you've heard, hey, create a choice board, it's already done for you. Autonomy, students get to make decisions about their learning themselves, which provides so much more buy-in on the student's part. It's mobile. So if you run out of Chromebooks or some of your Chromebooks die in class, students can use this on their mobile device. There's a competitive edge that is built in, which we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then the teacher simply acts as the cheerleader. All you have to do is encourage your students to play NumberSense. So let's explore the NumberSense platform.
All right. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And what I've brought up on the screen is on a mobile device. Well, it's a tablet, and um, I'll also show how you get to um, the NumberSense game itself on your Chromebook or using a browser. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the NumberSense app. And I'm going to show you some of what the features are. So it's about allowing the kids to do math, practice while playing, give them more reps at practicing certain problems so they can achieve mastery. Right? And then they can know their progress. So there's data that's captured based on the amount of time that they're spending, the number of problems that they're solving, the number of games that they're attempting, the number of levels they're mastering. So that's the progress. They can also challenge their friends. So as a teacher, you could set up small groups or uh, your entire classroom in what we call a number sense. Uh, it's what is it?
As
It's
circles.
Yeah, numbers in circles. Thank you. Numbers, which is a group of students that you have where they can compete with each other, and they can there's a leaderboard for inside the circle. And so let's go into I have a login, and there's a separate district for all your schools that are in, and for each school there are different classrooms that are set up, and all the different teachers and students are put inside the classroom. And here's the student login that I'm just going to go directly into logging in as a student, and you're going to come to the dashboard. The student comes to the dashboard. These are the three main areas that they can go to. I always say practice before play, because there are certain elements that we have designed in the game in terms of how the kids can develop the spatial reasoning. What are the different types of um, parameters that they can go and control, or that controls the complexity of the game, all of those. So that's why when you go to practice, it gives you all the flexibility. So the game is not dictating what the students need to be learning, but they have the choice of going in and selecting any of the concept areas that they need to be practicing on. I'm selecting addition. And as you can see, I mean, there's lots of skills underneath each one of these uh, concepts that can be practiced, that the students can practice. So I'm just going to do beginner edition. So we go into the choose all the different parameters. So I can set it up. The number of tiles denotes the numbers that are on the total number of tiles that are going to be on the board. I was saying initially that this is Scrabble, so it's like a board game, and also Tetris, which has got the spatial reasoning built into it. So um, starting number, I'm going to keep it at 1, making it 11, 21, all of that increases the level of complexity. But let's start with the basic. And the order tells how the board is ordered, the layout, it tells how the order is horizontal or vertical, and then layouts or just the normal layout or zigzag, or you'll see some of the more complex layouts. I'm going to show the numbers because this is still practice and I'm demonstrating what the but once the students are familiar with what the game is and how it's set up, then I would recommend that they turn the numbers off, which is where you maximize the not only the math development but also the student's whole brain development when it comes to uh, learning the numbers and sort of the spatial connections between the numbers. Oh, before I do that, let's also go and turn on the tutorials. So um, I'm going to turn on the tutorials here so you can see what the different elements, because there's a lot of things that are going to be going on in this board right now that the students need to get familiar with. It's not difficult, it's just understanding what is there and why it's set up the way it's set up, right? So this is the game board. Essentially what you're seeing, since we selected 70 numbers, we've got 1 through 10 starting from the left to right, and then it increases as it goes up, right, all the way to 61 through 70. And I'm going to go to next. That's where the problem is defined. The problem is automatically generated by the app, and it's randomized. It also has an idea about how the student is responding to it, whether they are comfortable with the problem or are they struggling. It also has a timer that's built in. That's there's a timer bar, so that timer bar is going to keep um, shrinking, and the color will change. Once it gets beyond a certain point, it turns from green to yellow and then to orange. And then if the problem is solved within the given time, then it becomes red. So that's the timer bar. You'll see when you're playing the game that it's dynamic. And then there's the progress. That's the scores that the students get. So if they get the problem right, and if it was within the mastery time, then it becomes green. Then if it becomes a little slower, it's yellow, and then it's orange, and if they get it wrong, it's red. And then there's the hints button where they can get the hints, and you'll see how the hints look. I'll show it here. So here's the board is there so they can go and pick the answers. And when they pick the answers, it the one gets incremented there, so they get one right. Now this is 2-digit plus 2-digit, so there's a rule-based artificial intelligence that's behind that shows them how to decompose the problem and then how to reassemble it and then solve the problem. So it's not just about rote memorization, it's also gives you the methods that they need to be thinking about and using, and how they should be approaching these different problems. So let's pick something that's wrong. So that's the red. So those are the color codings. What I'm going to do now is the tutorial is turned off, and also I've turned the numbers off. So that's where the real game is, because now the board, it's shown how it is laid out. It's shown that you start from 1 through 10, left to right, and then 61 through 70. And that's how the hints are all thrown in. So, but the students have to go and figure out where the answer is. So as they're doing it, they are making connections across the different rows and different columns. And there is research that shows that that helps the students build connections using multidimension, which actually accelerates their number sense and foundational math development. So this whole there's the whole number board and how it's laid out, and also the way by which the students traverse the board to answer these, to find these answers. Of course, they have to solve. So this is an application of how the students, whatever they are learning, applying it in a sort of a visual manner, which is what the makes the game unique in how it's designed to help develop their students' number sense and their skills. Of course, the repetitive practice and all that's going to really help them develop that mastery over the numbers. But there's all these mechanisms that are built in. It may seem kind of, oh my gosh, how am I going to figure out? But the strategies that they develop, and they're not going to start from one, counting from one. I mean, that's, if you are doing it with your fingers, you might, but here, since this is 68, I would just go 2 spaces to the right of 66. So, and 34, you got 24 there, so why not just one row about 24? And then 44, of course, now you're getting the pattern of what this row and what this column means. So some of them are going to be easy for them to track down, and some of them are going to be harder. So these are all the easy ones. So that's how the game is played. And once these metrics that we have at the bottom, when they are actually playing the game, depending on what numbers they get, then we make a decision whether to move them to the next level or not. So the game itself goes from level 1 all the way to level 25. I'm still in practice, so I'm going to show you a couple more things. That's all very mathematics oriented. So I'm going to change the order, and that has a different mathematical implication. We're just asking them to understand how addition works and all that, but now we are throwing them into a board that's ordered 7, 14, 21, which is the basis for multiplication. So that's 56. So it just happens to be a multiple of 7, right? So, and then 64, of course, it's already visible. 61. So you're essentially going, now your mind is thinking in terms of how to figure out where these, answers are, and they are traversing that sort of in a vertical order. So so all of this challenges them and also teaches them different ways by which they can connect with numbers, whether it's using place value or whether it's using the different kind of multiples for different multiplication tables. So also, I'm going to go back to the original order, and I'm going to show you the couple other layouts. And all of this is just helping to bring them better spatial awareness and reasoning capabilities. And then they feel very comfortable whichever way the 41, 43. So that's going 40. So 40 is going backwards. So 50 is going forward. 66. Oh, I added wrong. So that's um, 51. So you get the gist of what we're trying to do here. And for those students that want to be really challenged and they want to see some very advanced formations, I say this is for the kids that are wanting to be trained as space scientists. So ask them to go into the spatial, the spiral formation. So they need to really get into, okay, some of these numbers are going to be the corners. Um, but they need to really understand both the proximity of these different numbers as well as the direction in which the spiral is moving. So those are the different elements that control the complexity of the and let's go to the play mode right now. Well, before we go there, I want to show you all the different so you have all these different, you also have Roman numerals that is rarely discussed in the curriculum. So kids really love that once they start figuring it out. And then we go all the way up to pre-algebra. So there's simple equations, there's the ratios, proportions. So this is for your 6th standard kids that want to really work with advanced. So you have the multiplication, you have mixed operations, uh, you have division facts. You haven't, even for kindergarten, you actually have count by 2, count by 3, odd numbers, even numbers, just numbers. So they get familiar with, how those uh, patterns work. Okay, I'm going to go into play. And play, as you can see, is ordered based on the different concepts. And I'm going to go into addition here. And you'll notice that there's only 2 skills over there. We're not doing all the formative skills like add by 2, add by 3. So this is, at this point, you're ready to play and you're going to be challenged. And we have 3 different tracks. We have a beginner track, advanced track, and sensei track. The complexity of the problem, the complexity of the board, the amount of time that's given to the kids, they all vary. As they go into the more of the sensei track, all of those becomes more and more challenging. So, and the number that you're seeing next to it, that's the level they are in. So you invariably, you start at level 1, and level 1 is usually 10 numbers. That's it. It's 1 through 10. And then you play with that, and then you master that concept and skill, and then you go to the next level, and then it keeps building up on that. So there's 25 different levels. And when you do this, let's go to the beginner track, and I am in level 13, and all of these are set by the game. So there's 70 tiles, there's the starting number, and there's also the order is set, the layout is normal, tutorial is turned off. So when they go in, the game controls how the board is laid out and how they need to be playing. Of course, the numbers are going to be turned off in game always because they're playing it. So that's how it works. And then once they finish it, depending on what their scores are, then they get moved upward. And you have the results that are built, captured over here. So that's got the number of minutes played. This is for the individual student right there. Now, all of this data is aggregated, and then there's a dashboard which I'll show you how the teachers can go and manage their classrooms, look at individual student progress, all of that. And the administrators at the school level would be able to see the data across all the different classrooms. And um, so this is pretty much how the data is collected. There's also by the activities, the different activities that the student is focusing on, and there's also graphing mechanisms if they want to look at how they are progressing based on um, and also you can watch the daily activity. How much time are they spending? How many problems are they solving? How many games have they played, and how many levels have they mastered? So all of that is captured for every individual student. There's the leaderboard, so that gives at a uh, globally what the scores are, and then when you start creating these different groups, if you have a classroom, so if that is your classroom, then that classroom can be accessed by the students to watch their leaderboard within that particular group. So there's a lot of flexibility in how the leaderboard is presented. And that's the circles. So that's how you go and set up for the entire classroom and how many members are there in each one of those circles. And there's a reward mechanism that's built in. So when the students are playing, they get experience points based on uh, how they finish the different games and how they are mastering the concept. Based on that, they're going to keep collecting points, and they can go and start unlocking some of these monsters that could be their collection. So that's pretty much how it works. Um, that's pretty much it. And let me go over to show you a couple of things. I'm going to go from this to that is the web version. I'm in a browser, and they go to nsweb.nomadixapp.com, and they'll be able to log in from there. And then I'm also going to show you the teacher dashboard. So I have an administrative console where the teacher can log in, and in this case, I've got the teacher is teaching 4 different classrooms, total of 106 students. So there's they all have subscription. So this is how many students have subscription and all that. And then here are the 4 different classrooms. You can go and look at the daily activity across your 4 classrooms, and that's how much they have played. It doesn't tell you which classroom students have played what. This is your aggregate, the overall scores. Okay. And you can go and look at it from an activity level. Where are your students focusing? Those are the activity details. It looks like the students are practicing Roman numerals here. So these are the different concepts that they are trying out. There's a mashup concept, so that's a combination of different skills also. So let's go back. You can drill down into every class and start looking at the data at different classroom levels. So I'm going to go into um, one of the classrooms, and you can see there are 27 students, and then they played a total of 375 minutes. This is in less than a month, about 5,000 problems, just that classroom. So 306. I think the students are playing about 10 minutes a day, and number of levels mastered. You can get into the daily numbers for your classroom, also the activities, and also you can get into every individual student level and see how they are doing. So that's drilling down into every one of the students and seeing um, who's keeping up with their with what you asked them to do and who's falling behind, all of those. So you can get into specific pieces of information for each one of the students and really understand where they are moving forward. So that's pretty much what I had from both the student's perspective and also teacher's perspective. And the teachers have logins too, so you can go in and start, trying out the game itself, and you'll have your own, um, you'll have your own scores and everything. So that's you're welcome to do that. Did I miss anything, Marlon?
No?
So I think, yeah, pretty good coverage. Okay. Okay. If you all have any questions about any aspect of the app or the administrative console, just drop us an email. It's info@knomadix.com, and we'll get that. So we'll make sure you get that when we send this link to this video out. Thank you. Back to you.
All
I'm going to
right.
stop sharing. Yeah.
Let me get over here.
Can you share the screen? Yeah, there you go.
Yes. All right. So I am. All right. So we are going to wrap up with the instructional approach piece of the training. So in Responsive Ed's case, we're going to start introducing NumberSense as more of an outside of the classroom activity, more of like a homework on your own type activity for this first semester. So to maximize NumberSense, here's some things that I've thought of that you guys can do. So encourage the students to use the NumberSense app away from school. Let them know, like show them how to download it on their phone from the App Store. Let the parents know via Remind or whatever system your school uses, like Class Dojo, the newsletter, something like that. Let them know that there is this app available for them to download on their phone for free. Students can use the app to do a nightly math fact practice. So maybe you guys are working on multiplication. Say, hey, I want you guys to brush up on some math facts in NumberSense. And they can use it for extra credit. So if students kind of falling behind or just needs a little bit of extra oomph, hey, play NumberSense. You can easily pull that up and see that on your teacher dashboard. So they're not having to do an exchange of paper or anything like that with you. This could be a weekly homework completion grade. Hey, I need you to complete 30 minutes to an hour a week, whatever you want them to do, right? So they can split that up over the 5 school nights. It could also be work for the student whose parent requests extra assignments. You don't have time to make extra copies or plan extra lessons for home. Hey, you know what? They are struggling with multiplication. You know what? Nope, they're struggling with subtraction or division. Let's use NumberSense for that. Okay, this is your built-in code teacher. It is truly a set it and forget it type situation. For your students to log in, they'll have usernames and passwords that typically consist of either their student ID or their lunch number for both. So there's no forgetting it. There's no having to go back and reset a student's password constantly or look up a unique password for them. They don't forget to eat lunch. They don't forget their student ID. They are not going to forget how to log into NumberSense.
Let me just jump in here for responsive ed. They've given us the students Google Gmail ID.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
we
Well,
have used that as the username,
as the username.
and
Okay.
then they've also, depending on the grade level, they've decided what the passwords are going to be. So yeah, we will share what those are. Yeah.
Oh, well, perfect. Okay, well, then there will be grade level passwords. And so the students will be able to log in using the information that you provide and that you have. So you're not having to go into the system and regenerate a new password for them or create something. It will be there for you. There is a built-in choice here, again, built-in scaffolding and built-in differentiation. The students can also adjust by themselves. So if they start in that advanced track and they're like, oh, this is a little bit hard, but I still want to do the division, they can drop down to the beginner track. They have that at their fingertips. They're not having to ask you to go and change anything. And then, of course, it's competitive. Students can join circles and compete with their friends. So what does support from the classroom look like? NumberSense was truly created with educators like you and I in mind. Our plates are already full. So the only thing that NumberSense requires from the teachers is for us to actively monitor the students' usage, encourage students to try new and more challenging problems from what we've observed in our monitoring, and communicate the success and areas of opportunity to parents and students. So being that cheerleader for your students, like, I noticed you're doing really amazing in this edition. I wonder if you might want to try subtraction or multiplication and division, pre-algebra, things like that. Just really being that champion for the student. So let's get started. You'll use a username and password that NumberSense has created and emailed to you for you to access your teacher dashboard. And then students will use the information provided for the grade levels by Responsive Ed. If you have questions that you've written down throughout this training, you can email those to info@knomadix.com, and we are more than happy to answer your questions. We hope that you've enjoyed this and gotten something from it, and hopefully you'll start to look at educational technology through a different lens.
Thank you, and this concludes our training.